John Vaughn here. This is the war flag. This is the peace flag. This is also a corporation flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America Corporation and to the republic for which it stands. Once again, war flag, peace flag, and for extremely complicated reasons I can't explain right now, law, land, air, water. This is the sea jurisdiction flag. This is the sovereign land jurisdiction flag. With that being said, we get back to money. Well, let me come over here. If you don't have this book, for those of you who are following some of my stuff, please go online and get this book right now. I will publish some pictures of this later, but this book for intro level, uneducating yourself from the Rockefeller education system, the Jew education system, mind you. Rockefeller is an Ashkenazi Jew, such as Jeffrey Epstein and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Rothschilds. But real quick, when we got our independence from Great Britain kept control. They split our country, land, air, water. They split it. The Pope and the Catholic Church control the air. That's explained earlier. That's regardless. However, Great Britain kept control of the sea and gave us control of the land. And what did they do? They got a little bit of cheddar. And because they had two trusts now for our country, we have two flags. However, one is always put into your face, where the other one you've never seen. Also, this is the sea jurisdiction / war flag. Whenever you walk into a post office, a courthouse, a city council meeting, the governor's office, the mayor's office, any public building, the reason this flag is never on the wall like a picture is because it is sea jurisdiction. That's why it's always on a pole. It can never be mounted to the wall. It has to be on a pole. The pole could be mounted to the wall, but you'll notice in almost any government building, it is never, ever mounted to the wall. This flag is always on the ground on a pole because land jurisdiction, sea jurisdiction, because the building is attached to the foundation is attached to the land. You cannot, by law, put this flag in a government building on the wall because of a conflict of interest. Sea jurisdiction and land jurisdiction conflict, which is why this flag is always on a pole. It is never attached to the wall permanently. This one you could do that with. Land jurisdiction, you could put on anything. It's on the land. Sea jurisdiction. With that being said, back over here. After the American Revolution, yes, Britain was kicking our ass, but they 13 colonies because the white man couldn't plant worth a shit. We screwed up all the ground. They couldn't grow anything, and they needed to expand. But they had a trust or treaty with the Native Americans. They would not expand past the 13 colonies. So, by keeping their fingers in the United States and keeping water, but they gave us land, now we could expand. That treaty was no longer valid because Great Britain no longer controlled the 13 colonies. They controlled the water, but not the colonies themselves. Therefore, American expansion was able to happen. United States citizens, that's the key word there, citizens with an S. That is what you want to be. American state citizen. Sorry, not United States. American state citizen. Here are the benefits of being an American state citizen. But the biggest thing is you are sovereign. You pay taxes to nobody, and just the Constitution applies to you. All this UCC, all that shit that's going on right now, that is completely null and void. United States citizens. So American state citizen is what you want to be. United States citizens isn't good because now you only have civil rights. Civil rights are bullshit. Those are rights you give to corporations. They're for fiction ideas. They are not good. And for those of you who don't know about Negro citizen or all cap lock. So you notice this is upper and lowercase. This came after the slaves were freed. Technically, no one got freed. They just redefined slavery. If you are a United States citizen in cap locks, you are a Negro citizen. You don't want to be that, but we all are, because the J words, they rewrote history. They also rewrote the Bible. The word Jew never, ever, ever, ever appeared in the Bible. The J words, the Ashkenazis doing what they do, they just bought the Oxford Publishing Press, the Oxford England Publishing Press, which was the main producer of the King James Bible. And after the fourth edition, the first three editions, the word Jew never appeared. And then Judah was replaced by the word Jew. That's what they did. And then they bought American banking system. All right, Bubba, hold on. So once again, the original corporation is just United States. The country itself was Continental States of America. United States is the first corporation. The United States of America is literally a third-party Jew-owned country corporation. We're going to call it a company. We'll call it a corporation. But it is 100% Jew-owned. It is not owned by Americans. Whoever controls your resources controls you. Whoever controls your resources controls you. Also, whoever controls your past controls your future. Why did they rewrite history? We'll get into that later. In God we trust. One nation under God. First off, under God. God is a made-up word, recent made-up word. It is, hold on, Bubba, it's not an old word, and it never appeared on our currency. And the original silver certificate, in God we trust, was never there. However, after the J words took over, let's see. There's the difference between the back. You make a look-alike, it looks just like it. You want to pretend you're just like them and everything. However, once they issued in their new bullshit currency, this is Moloch. Remember the owl that you see in the child sacrifices and how all the Hollywood elite, they meet up in the woods and they do weird shit, and there's a big owl? That is the owl. Some call it a spider, but that is the tribute to Moloch or Baal. Look up Baal and Moloch and how they do child sacrifices. They clean out blood, CYFD, missing children. We'll get into that later. Yeah, it gets pretty deep. The United States is a shitbag, scumbag country. United States was a good idea, but the United States, assholes. Now, in the beginning, as I said before, the only acceptable payments were silver or gold. These are silver certificates. This is a United States note, which you could take to the Federal Reserve, and they would give you a Spanish dollar. All dollars, this is a dollar too, from Trinidad, but all dollars are based off the Spanish from Spain. All dollars are based off Spain. They are based off something called a piece of 8, or a Spanish dollar, and that is silver. So even though these are silver certificates, all dollars, United States notes, were worth, you take them in, you could trade them in for, they just kind of put extra steps to make it difficult, but it was still worth silver. However, this crap, a Federal Reserve note, is completely worthless. And in the beginning, this is what it said. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, and is redeemable in a lawful money attained at the United States Treasury or any Federal Reserve Bank. Lawful money. So this money is a joke. It isn't money. It is a debt receipt. This was money. Gold and silver certificates were money. But this is just an IOU. It's complete bullshit. But because the same people who control our banks control our education, they dumbed everybody down. They had you saying a pledge of allegiance to a corporate flag, not to the republic, the war flag, not the peace flag. And it gets deeper. Anyway, I'll continue these later. What was I going to show you guys? Oh, yeah. This is my favorite American bill ever, which probably none of you have ever seen. Check out the quality and the detail of our money before the Rockefellers. This is an 1880s bill, but I mean, look at it. Look how our money used to look. Now we got bald white slave owners. Also, this is kind of weird. Every president, so George Washington, once again, is the first president of the United States of America Corporation. He is not the first president of our country. With that being said, all presidents since George Washington have had one common ancestor. You see how this is Republic of Texas? Republic, not democracy. Dipshits and con artist thieves promote democracies. Anyone who says democracy, they're a dumbass and they're uninformed, or they're truly evil if they're trying to promote democracy. Republic is what you want. Let's see here. Now I'm lost in thought. My favorite bill. Sorry, I got lost by my kid. I forgot what I was talking about. But hopefully this will show you. It's funny, the Confederate States, we're told how about slavery and all that, but the Confederates had a lot of black people on their money, usually doing labor, but also being sailors, talking. I have that one. That's this one. Notice how the face changed directions? Anyway, little nuances. The old Tartarian money. So I actually have a bill. A lot of our first issued money had people with helmets with dragons on them. Anyway, become the greatest version of yourself. Hopefully this will stimulate your mind and realize that we are currently being enslaved by someone who is not us. Whoever controls our resources controls you. Who controls our money? Who controls our media? Who controls our schools? Look at this chick. Gold certificates.